as I say, none of you, when arriving to this city of New York, has had to undergo such humiliating treatment, physically humiliating treatment, as that which was meted out to the President of the Cuban delegation. Sir, I'm not trying to rouse anyone in this assembly. I'm merely stating the truth. It was time that we take the floor and that we speak. Much has been said about us. For many days we have been the bone of contention. The newspapers have referred to us. And we held our peace. We cannot defend ourselves against attacks in this country. Our day to tell the truth has dawned, and therefore we will speak the truth.
We hear that there's a large army being built up in Central America to fight against Castro. How important will this outside army be in the revolution against Castro?
Well, we know that the underground organization involves most of the people of Cuba who is willing to fight and is ready for that. That is the most important force against Castro and is the determinant force, the general uprising in Cuba, and the forces that will start fighting in Cuba against Fidel Castro. All Cuban exiles outside will try to help, I am sure of that. But this is a fight of the people inside of Cuba against his present tyranny, and for the same ideals they are fighting for years, for freedom, democracy, economic development, and social progress.
But let the record show that our restraint is not inexhaustible. Should it ever appear that the inter-American doctrine of non-interference merely conceals or excuses a policy of non-action for mercenaries, according to press reports, the final message to be relayed from the refugee forces on the beach came from the rebel commander when asked if he wished to be evacuated. His answer was, "I will never leave this country." That is not the reply of a mercenary.
We got together more or less through acquaintance and the newspapers and the radio. And we had a meeting spot in Denver, and we formed just 2 nights ago. And we planned to make this trip on to Miami, which we're going to get there one way or the other. I don't know.
All right, what about this international incident of United States citizens going on in Cuba? Aren't you at least a bit concerned about it?
Well, actually, I believe that we as Americans have an interest in Cuba. You know, after all, Cuba lies just 90 miles off the shores of Miami, and if we don't start someplace, if we don't show that we mean business, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump over into our country, and I'm sure that our people here don't want that.
I know that many of you have further questions about Cuba. I made a statement on that subject yesterday afternoon. We are continuing consultations with other American republics. Active efforts are being made by ourselves and others on behalf of various individuals, including any Americans who may be in danger. I do not think that any useful national purpose would be served by my going further into the Cuban question this morning. I prefer to let my statement of yesterday suffice for the present.
In view of the fact we're taking a propaganda lambasting around the world, why is it not useful, sir, for us to explore with you the real facts behind this or our motivations?
Well, I think in answer to your question that we have to make a judgment as to how much we can usefully say that would aid the interest of the United States. One of the problems of a free society, problem not met by a dictatorship, is problem of information.
For those Cuban patriots who gave their lives, the lesson is one of tragic finality. But what of those who live on? What of those who will shape the future? The events of the last few days are indelible reminders to all of us in the Western Hemisphere. The penetration of force from outside of our hemisphere, dominating a puppet government and providing it with arms and tanks and fighter aircraft, is already dangerously strong and deep. It is now demonstrably stronger, deeper, more dangerous to all of us who value freedom than most Americans and most of our neighbors in the Western Hemisphere have been willing to think. If there is hope in the events of the last few days, it is that we will awaken, that it will awaken all of us in the Americas to a renewed determination to mobilize every resource and energy to advance the cause of economic growth and social progress throughout this hemisphere, to foster conditions of freedom and of political democracy. They summon all of us to expand freedom and abundance with education of all people. If we dedicate ourselves with renewed resolve to bringing greater social reform, greater economic opportunity, greater human dignity, the sacrifices of the last few days will not have been in vain. As the President of the United States said this afternoon, the message of Cuba, of Laos, of the rising din of communist voices in Asia and Latin America, these messages are all the same. I hope that the lessons which these developments teach us are not lost on all of us here. There are many small countries whose institutions may not yet be so firmly secured that they can be impervious to the insidious type of subversion of which we are speaking. This internal battle is frequently silent but deadly. Can we ignore what is happening in a small country like Vietnam, whose freedom is in danger from guerrilla forces operating under communist direction from the north and are seeking to overthrow the freely elected government of that country? In 1960 alone, communist guerrillas killed, wounded, or captured within South Vietnam thousands of Vietnamese soldiers and civilians. I say to you that whether infiltrations are in Vietnam, in Cuba, or in Laos, each such encroachment of the freedom of these people is a threat to the freedom of all people.
event itself, that is, the episode, as he has said, was a great tragedy or a disaster for us. But, as I mentioned a moment ago, there are certain good results in that. Our people here, you could tell from the attendance today of the senators that they're taking a more active interest in our foreign relations and seeking to understand it. The people in Latin America, the other countries, are more aware of the danger which is growing in our midst in Cuba, and I believe will be more interested in collaborating with us and among themselves to take measures to resist the spread of this alien infection in Latin America.
Was the Secretary at all hopeful about a complete ceasefire in Laos?
Yes, he was hopeful that they would get a complete ceasefire, but this is still under negotiation, and that's all. I mean, he doesn't know for sure how it's going to turn out.
What do you hope to accomplish?
We hope to accomplish 4 main points. The first one is the release of our friends that are in jail and prison right now in Cuba. The second is to help the families of the ones that are in prison or dead. Third, establish a radio-free Cuba to get the truth to the Cuban people. And the fourth main point is to work inside Cuba.